the night, and the clocks keep turning. We all see the fire inside. Tell me how it's burning. Is it enough to have a drive? Dancing in fire, we are breaking all the lights, just a drowning desire. In this music side by side, this heartbeat can't stop running. The rhythm takes us to its arms. See how the sparks are turning. The light awaken from the dark. Lights out, pull the trigger. I just want to feel that free. Lights out, I'm here with you now. Nothing more but your dance killer. Lights out, stop the burning. I just want to feel that heat burn out. Can't stop wanting. From now on, treat like dance killer. From now on, treat like dance killer. From now on, treat like dance killer. And we're dancing in fire. We are breaking all the lights, just a drowning desire. In this music side by side, this heartbeat can't stop running. The rhythm takes us to its arms. See how the sparks are turning. The light awaken from the dark.
Oh, we're back, baby. God, I really can't wait until I could pick the music that I want to listen to on this thing. All right. Let's get this show on the road. Hey, howdy, hey, people. Episode 37, Smells Like Wrasslin podcast on YouTube. Wednesday, October 26th. Another episode of Dynamite in the books. Got some stuff we need to talk about in the week of wrestling since I last saw you guys. A little bit of SmackDown news, a little bit of news in general. We do have an announcement at the end of the show for the channel, so if you're curious, stay tuned. Oh, Jordan's here. This is great. Oh, and Process is here. What's going on? Congrats to your Phillies. Royal, let me talk to you. Yeah. Freaking LA Knight, baby. I love it. Yeah, Jordan, I'm going to be right there with you, bud. Complaining about the end of the show because I was I was not too thrilled with what I saw. I feel like the episodes of Dynamite are getting a little bit like harder and harder to watch all the way through because it just seems like it's just a hodgepodge of stuff all over the place, you know. I mean, don't get me wrong, the Swerve match with FTR I thought was awesome. I may not necessarily agree with what they did because I never want to see FTR like lose, but oh, Doom is here. Oh, fantastic. But you know, like the Acclaimed are so hot right now. Like to just take the belts off of them so quick. I feel like they need to beat Swerve in Our Glory one more time, make it a trilogy, and then have them defend it against whoever. And then give the belts to FTR and like Winter's coming and pop a rating because everyone's going to want to see FTR win all the belts. Or you could do that at Final Battle because FTR are the ROH titles. Like put all the belts on the line. you know, and then it justifies it being on the ROH pay-per-view. You could do that. You could really stretch out the Acclaim's reign and go all the way until Revolution, but Revolution isn't until like March or April, so that's like a really long time. But there's a lot of things that they could do. But we got a couple of bits of news to talk about. Piece of business number one. The Rock's daughter. She's on NXT now. And they put her with Joe Gacy. Whatever. You know, I mean, like, you know, she's got to start somewhere. She hasn't done anything. There's nothing to say. She showed up. I don't really watch NXT too much anyways. So, but I mean, that's the place that they say is their developmental. So, I mean, depending on the mood that Triple H is in, sometimes it's their third brand, sometimes it's the developmental, but whatever. Whatever. She's around. I think they call her Ava Rain or something like that. It's just whatever. It looks like the Elite are coming back. Basically, I mean, there's even more evidence now than I was going to talk about this. This was in my notes for the show before it aired, but they aired their first Elite-centric video package, something that they haven't done in quite some time. So I'm very curious to see where that's going to go. Are we talking about, you know, the Elite are coming back? In what way, shape, or form are they going to come back? Are they even going to be called the Elite anymore? Maybe that's just the end of that, and they're going to come back and they're going to reinvent themselves. And I don't know. Imagine the Bucks came back. They had haircuts and shit. No sideburns, no long hair, nothing. I don't know. It's just, I don't know. I mean, there's also rumored that like Punk isn't coming back, and that's the other thing I wanted to talk about. That about the apparently he's in contract negotiations for a buyout. So I mean, good, just pay him his money and get him the fuck out of here. Like you can't even put a dollar amount I'm putting behind how much of a freaking shit show it's been since Punk arrived. And I'm not gonna lie, like in the beginning, I thought, you know, it was, you know, everyone was in their honeymoon phase. It was great. The company was doing great business. Punk was just gushing all over television and smiling and slapping five with the crowd. But in my personal opinion, I mean, not only did they sign CM Punk, but they signed that gigantic chip on his shoulder. And he brought that into AEW also. I just like, I don't know. That's just the feeling. I've never met CM Punk before in my life, but it's just a feeling I get from the guy in his interviews where he's allowed to be himself and not a character. So it's pretty much the only window one as a fan like myself would get on something like this. And it's just like, the guy just like, you know, like, what are you doing, man? You know, like now he's at the point where like, no matter how big, now he's like fucking John Jones. Like everyone knows how great he is, but like no one's, you know, he's a problem. He's a problem. And the fact that maybe even Triple H is considering it, like, listen, in my personal opinion, he's never going back to WWE. No fucking way. They were in a very long, dirty lawsuit. There's no legal trust there. There's no creative trust there. There's no professional trust there. I would be shocked beyond shocked if CM Punk ended up showing up in WWE. I don't think Triple H likes him at all. I don't think Punk likes Triple H at all either. I don't think that he likes Stephanie McMahon either. So, yeah, Jordan, you're 100% correct. Like, what the fuck happened? You know? What happened? And like the stuff going on with like, I don't know, people were talking about like the Bucks, talking about Colt. Like, was any of that something that us as the fans like knew about? You know what I mean? Like I just don't understand. It just went so bad, so fast. And it was just just the love fest that was going on in the beginning. It came down to blows. You know what I mean? Like, people actually physically fought. People lost their jobs. People lost money. The company lost face. Like, a lot of shit. Like, what the fuck happened? You know what I mean? And, like, you can't even blame this on, like, drugs or alcohol because Punk is straight edge. But the shit he was saying, I was like, that's like what someone who's drunk next to their boss would say. Like, that's how it sounded. And his attitude was that of an inebriated person, even though he's straight edge. So I have no idea. I have no fucking idea. So I don't know, but does AEW need the Elite? Yeah, I would say so. I mean, the problem is with AEW is that they're still like top heavy with talent. So now we're just adding in 3 guys who are definitely going to get some camera time because they're draws. And that means other people aren't going to get that camera time. There's going to be people displaced by the return of the Elite. And this is during a time where we are seeing a lot of people who we haven't seen on television in a while getting some shine. And we may not see those people again. You know, that is an issue. But, I mean, I'm a big fan of the Bucks. I'm a big fan of Omega. I am excited to see them come back, but AEW still has that roster problem. I mean, there were reports that came out from Tony saying that they are doing like a weekly ROH show starting in 2023. So that's going to be the pressure release valve for that roster. Now you could have a whole bunch of people just go someplace else to get exposure. You know what I mean? So, we'll see. And apparently Orange Cassidy is making a habit of just having all of his title matches triple threats. I don't know. We're going to talk about that in a little bit also. So, tonight was a pretty interesting card. The AEW World title was on the line. Jon Moxley versus Pentagon, or as he's known now as Penta El Cero Miedo. Chris Jericho and Daniel Garcia are going to fight Claudio Castagnoli and Wheeler Yuta. Bryan Danielson's going to fight Sammy Guevara. So the feud between the Blackpool Combat Club and the Jericho Appreciation Society continues. FTR fights Swerve in Our Glory for the number 1 contender shot at the AEW tag titles. Rio was fighting Jamie Hayter, and they were going to do a segment with MJF. So the show starts with the tag match. Claudio Castagnoli and Wheeler Yuta ended up defeating Chris Jericho and Daniel Garcia, which I was surprised that it was the champions who lost, and I was surprised that it was the ROH champion that got pinned. So that's pretty interesting. Jericho doesn't get pinned often, so I feel like every single time he does, it's something to take notice of. Regal went to commentary and hit on Excalibur again, pretty much comparing him to a creme brulee. And it's just this funny gimmick that's going on with Regal, just making Taz incredibly uncomfortable with all of his sexual innuendos to Excalibur. So, I mean, I enjoy the gimmick. It's pretty funny. This was a pretty solid match. There was a great spot where Cesaro was doing the swing while Daniel Garcia was on his shoulders and he was swinging Jericho. I mean, that guy's just so ridiculously strong. It's unbelievable. It was, I was actually surprised in how it ended. I wonder where that's going to go. I mean, technically Cesaro has a claim to challenge for that belt because he did pin the champion. But to be quite honest, in AEW, the criteria for who gets a title shot it's changing all over the place. First, it used to be rankings based. Then it used to be grudge match based. Now it's like, I don't know, man. I guess they're not doing it by ratings. I guess they're just booking matches that would be interesting. What are you going to do? I mean, that's almost what everyone does, I guess. I don't know. Sometimes the title shots just get a little weird, just like random people getting title shots. Like Penta gets a title shot out of nowhere. Like, this is the thing that I keep saying every single week. Weak contenders make weak champions. And what happens is it just makes the champion matches not worth seeing. And I feel like that's not what a champion's supposed to be. You know what I mean? They're not supposed to be filler television. They're supposed to be much must-watch TV. Every single thing that the champion does should be important. Imagine after Rocky 2 and they do that montage where he's beating all these guys, and then it leads up to him, and then they start building up a feud between him and Mr. T. Imagine they just made the movie based on one of those guys that you just saw Rocky punching, and then just moved on to another clip in the montage. You know what I mean? That's what AEW does with their champions right now. It's just these nobody contenders. And it's like, it doesn't make me want to watch any title fights anymore. And I feel like that's a big problem. Your champion's supposed to be a draw. But like, just himself can't be the draw alone. You need to surround him with something that's compelling. You know what I mean? And you know what? And there's a dual benefit to this, because then that takes you building title contenders, which means you're legitimizing guys, which means you have more guys that in the public's eye, if you needed to have them win a title belt and swerve, you could do that, and it's not so predictable because you spent the last couple of title reigns building guys who might actually beat a champion. They actually had programs that made people think that it could actually happen. So I don't know, you know, it's very interesting how AEW books their champions, and I just feel like matches like tonight are a prime example of how, like, this is what, now, granted, Moxley's a little bit more compelling, but, like, certain champions like Hangman, like, you needed, like, the thing that made Hangman compelling was because he was part of a compelling story, and they built him up as a compelling, you know, sympathetic character. And then what happened was when he finally got the big one, they had no idea how to build the character of Hangman and build his legacy and his title reign. And all he did was just fight random ass people. The only thing that he really, like, the only real, like, high profile feud that he had was with Danielson, because Danielson was built up. I mean, Danielson's a wrestling god. So, you know, what a first intense task for a young babyface underdog champion to fight one of the best in the world. You know what I mean? And Danielson's great. He could have taken a loss, and rightly so. He did twice, I believe. Oh no, actually no. Excuse me. One time was, I think, the draw, and then the second time he beat him. So, like, you know what I mean? Like, they didn't do that. Like, Omega, every single person he fought was interesting because it was a story about how they was basically mocking them, and he was excuse me. How he was mocking them and how he was screwing them over. So every single time Omega fought as a champion, it was all these freaking hijinks that led up to who he was going to end up, like, defending the belt against. Mox was a guy who fought everybody. Jericho was, again, another heel who screwed everybody over. So, like, their heels are pretty easy to book because it's easy. Just have him be a dick to whomever, and that just builds up your resentment towards the heel, making you want to see this guy beat him. But it's like, I just feel like it takes a little more than that. It takes some compelling story. It takes compelling matches, and they don't do that. And the reason why they don't is because they're too busy trying to cram every single person on that overinflated roster into a 2-hour show. It's not feasible. There are going to be people who are going to be taking a side seat for a long time. That's why ROH is so important. Now you have another upper card, mid card, dark match, grudge matches, title contenders. There's another empty palette for you to tell stories with the Ring of Honor show. Because right now there's just too many in AEW, people. There's just too many to have that compelling story, and I just don't think that it's... And you're feeling it right now. The product is cooling off. And no matter who they don't have on TV, it's the storytelling that's the issue. Backstage, they go with Renee Paquette. She's talking with Danielson. Danielson's all pissed off that he's lost his last 2 matches. He's pissed off that Daniel Garcia turned on him. He's pissed off that Wheeler mouthed off to him. And he knows that people hate Sammy Guevara, but he's going to take but he doesn't hate him, but he's still going to take out all his frustrations on Sammy Guevara. Wheeler interrupts, says that he's not a kid. He's a grown-ass man. They start shoving. He takes offense to what Danielson's saying. Claudio comes out, breaks him up. He's like, you know, don't ruin a great night. I just pinned the ROH champion. We won a match. You're going to beat Guevara tonight. Like, you know, after the show is over, we're all going to get together. We're going to sit down. We're going to talk like men. So, you know, Claudio taking the peacemaker role in the Combat Club and pretty much, you know, trying to be peacemaker and trying to settle things within the Combat Club. You got Shivani backstage with the entire Jericho Appreciation Society. They were all pissed off about their loss. Jericho issues an open challenge to any former ROH World Champion next week. Guevara boasts about how he's going to beat Danielson because he's the best. The audio kind of sucks, so like we really couldn't hear too much else of what they were saying. I believe it was also the house audio as well, because you could hear the crowd saying what, and they couldn't figure it out. I think you also could tell that the wrestlers knew that as well, and they tried to repeat themselves in ways where they could actually be heard. So, I mean, there's one thing you got to tell, there's one thing I got to say about Jericho. The guy is a fantastic professional entertainer, and he knows how to improv on the fly, and if things go wrong, he knows how to make two wrongs and make it a right. So, I just got to say, again, that's why Jericho to me is one of the best of all time. The crown, the pièce de resistance of tonight's Dynamite was the tag match, Swerve in Our Glory versus FTR to become the number one contenders for the AEW Tag Championships. Now, listen, I know that there are going to be people out there who are going to be upset with this outcome, and trust me, I get it. I will want to see FTR have all the belts too. I think it's long overdue. I think it's well deserved. I am extremely happy with the run that they've been going on. The match that they had with Aussie Open at Royal Quest 2 was incredible. The matches they've had with the Briscoes, incredible. The matches they had to win the IWGP and ROH tag titles, incredible. FTR is going on a Hall of Fame run right now. A Hall of Fame run. And the crown jewel of that would be having the AEW tag belts. That they hold the belts of their home promotion, as well as the belts of almost every major promotion that's out there, with the exception of WWE and Impact. But it's not going to happen yet, because they pulled the trigger on the Acclaimed, and the Acclaimed were hot, and I'm pretty sure Tony didn't really have much of an idea as to what was going to happen with the tag belts. I mean, hey, that's just me guessing. Who knows? But it just feels like the way that the crowd reacted at All Out when the Acclaim were fighting Swerved in Our Glory, I think that was a heavy influence on them putting the belts on the Acclaimed at the next big event. I think that was the audible. I don't believe in calling audibles like in the ring on the fly. I think that it all ended up working out. The Acclaim ended up winning in their hometown, so you can't really complain about that. But they're too hot, and they're too over, and they're too young to just give them a popcorn fart reign of like a month or two. I mean, they only won them at what? They won them at Grand Slam. Grand Slam was in September. So what, you're just going to like have them lose the belt like 2 months later? Like, that sucks. So I think I've said this in several episodes before. I think that they are going to end this feud in a cage. It is going to be at Full Gear. This will be the final nail in the coffin between Swerve in Our Glory and the Acclaimed. Then the Acclaimed will beat whoever they're going to beat in between them and FTR taking the belts from them. When FTR will take the belts from them, I'm not sure. I mean, if you have the Acclaimed have I'd say like a 4, maybe 5 month reign, I think that's decent. That would mean you could technically take the belts off of them in December. Maybe, I don't know. Like, if you're going to put some weight behind the Acclaim, then you're going to have them hold on to it until Revolution. I think Revolution is one of their more successful shows. I feel like there have been better Revolutions that they have of any other pay-per-view that AEW's had. And a lot of great tag matches have occurred on Revolution, so I just think it's fitting. If FTR beat them at Revolution, I wouldn't complain, but I think Revolution would have to be like late February, early March for it to not be getting to the point where you're going to be treading water with the Acclaim, which is the last thing you want them to do, people to cool off on them and think that they're boring. And then if you're not going to put any worthwhile contenders in front of them, it's really going to expose them, and that's a bad look for your champs. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Royal. Yeah, the theme Dynamite is Winter is Coming. So it could be Winter's Coming. It could be New Year's Smash. They did that also. Actually, New Year's Smash was when Thunder Rosa won the AEW Women's title. That was a year ago. So she's technically been champ for a year, but she's only defended it for maybe a quarter of that time, which is crazy. But yeah, so that's basically what happened with the tag match. They did protect FTR by having the Guns interfere, having Swerve do the low blow. So, they were protected. They didn't lose clean, which is fine, which is great. I mean, they're triple champions. You really kind of do need to protect them. So, like I said, I think FTR is going to have their chance. It's just going to be a little bit further down the line. Renee Paquette is backstage with Saraya. She got interrupted by Britt Baker. Renee had to put a stop to the shenanigans. And they're going to do a joint interview next week. So, obviously, they're building up to a match between Britt Baker and Saraya, whatever. And she's going to end up probably beating Britt. I mean, just to make her known as like a force to be reckoned with outside of her name recognition. Her beating Britt makes sense. I could only assume it's going to happen at Full Gear. So that should be another interesting match. And we'll see if Saraya's still got the skills. I mean, Britt isn't the most... I'm curious to see as to who's going to be carrying that match or whether or not they're going to play off each other well enough. Renee Paquette's at the entrance ramp. They introduce MJF. MJF gets a big pop. He does this whole thing, the devil has arrived, where are my devil worshippers? So he's playing to the crowd. He's not being as insulting. I mean, he did say, he's like, hey, Virginia, blah, blah, or I don't know where they were. But, he was like, despite your shortcomings, I love all you guys. So he was still kind of heelish. He mentioned the fact, he mocks, so he mocks Jon Moxley's walk with the whole, and touching his face and he's like, I'm going to gargle my piss and all this crazy shit. So, it's funny that he's mocking Moxley, like, in front of his wife, which is also heelish and hysterical again. So, I mean, he tells Renee to shut his mouth, so, like, he was a heel, but now he's saying, I promise I won't use the Dynamite Diamond Ring at Full Gear. My opinion is that he's still a heel, and he's going to do all the things that he said he wasn't going to do. He's going to use the Dynamite Diamond Ring. He's going to freaking hit this guy in the dick. He's going to do every single underhanded thing to win the belt. And it's going to be a thing in the match where, like, Moxley's just going to keep on kicking out of these things until finally MJF does, like, one last, like, dastardly deed and gets the pin, and that's the pop he's going to have. He's literally going to condition the crowd to heel his way to a victory and have everyone pop for it. So that's what I think is going to happen. So all this, he's a heel. I mean, it's kind of hard to swallow, especially, like, if I'm right, I'm basically sitting here just like, just get to the point already. But if you don't think that's going to happen and it does, then, that's going to be a surprise that hopefully you'll enjoy. But it's just crazy. Sorry, guys, I worked an overnight shift and it's starting to hit me right now. So, he says that he's going to earn it. Then Stokely Hathaway comes out and basically MJF says, I want to beat him. I don't need your help. And if you interfere or he doesn't show up at 100%, then you're fired. Like, this is more of me thinking, like, I mean, granted, MJF did take a beat down by the Firm, which was another thing I didn't really like. So, like, if I'm right, then the beat down is just him just really selling this whole thing and just working everybody. But I mean, they put him through a table. I don't know, man. It just doesn't feel right. MJF being babyface, and they're trying to portray him as a babyface. But I feel like they're doing this because they think, like, everyone loves him, and he came back. You positioned him to be a savior. He showed up. He was his segments were the things that were pretty much that they were using to save the ratings after Punk and the Elite left. So, like, in terms of the fan base, like, this is their guy. This is the guy who has, well, I mean, there's another thing. There was that autograph signing that he no-showed. I don't fucking know, guys. I don't know what they're doing with MJF, but it has to get, I can't judge this as part of a whole. Like, eventually there's going to be a point to this, and he's going to win the belt, and he's going to win it in a certain way, and he's going to have a certain title reign, and we're going to see these parts for the whole. But I don't know, man. this is like the more, it's a little confusing. So like I kind of don't like it because I feel like it shouldn't be that difficult. But I don't know, man. I don't know. I just don't like the fact MJF should just be a heel. He should beat Mox. If people cheer him, they cheer him. I mean, they're still buying tickets to actually see him live. They're still going to buy the pay-per-view tickets. So why does it matter if he's a heel and the fans just love the character? You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know. But right now, like, they're fucking with the mystique of MJF for me. And I'm hoping that, like, here's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping that, like, MJF has some matches against the Firm. Like, against Ethan Page and against, Lee Moriarty and maybe even against, W. Morrissey. Which, as I'm saying this, it reminds me of every single time someone feuds with MJF and they make him go through like 4 or 5 people before they get to MJF. And now it's like MJF is going to, if MJF ends up going through every single member of the Firm on his like path to being a babyface, I don't even know, man. I don't even know. All I know is that the bloodline is freaking awesome. SmackDown was like okay. Freaking Johnny Gargano on Raw lost to Baron fucking Corbin. I mean, come on, man. Like, what are they fucking doing with Gargano? What the hell are they doing with Baron Corbin? You know, like, what is going on? Stuff going on with Bray. Listen, until he has a match, until he actually fights with someone, until he has a feud, until we see a couple of matches where this new character is going, I got nothing to say. It's too early I think it's too early for anyone to just be like, whoa. You know, I mean, hey, is he bringing in viewers? Sure, the guy's a compelling character. Hey, is he making money for the company? Sure, the guy's a compelling character. But we don't know who this character is yet. So we are basing all of this on the fact that the guy has consistently had good characters, which, to be quite honest, I know I might be in the minority, but like I didn't like the whole Firefly Funhouse gimmick. I would have just preferred him as the Fiend and not that guy, like that really weird, whatever, this weird, Mr. Rogers character that he had. I just would have preferred the Fiend. Without him no-selling everything. But, like, otherwise, like, if all these characters came from his mind, like, I dig it. But it's like, even Triple H said that the guy when it comes to storytelling is, sometimes he has to be reined in. So, like, are we seeing an unreined in Bray Wyatt in terms of storytelling? Is he a guy who is his storytelling is being corralled and controlled? I don't know. But I think it's too early. I could give a crikey fuck about Logan Paul versus Roman Reigns. I don't don't like celebrities in wrestling. I don't like it. I mean, granted they're fans and hey, they get whatever. I would say the only time I've seen like a celebrity like in the ring and I was like, oh, all right, was that WrestleMania match with Pat McAfee and Austin Theory, and then he ended up fighting Vince. Then he ends up getting stunned by Stone Cold. Like, that's what sold me on McAfee. And the fact that, and then if you go back and you see the match that he had at War Games against the Undisputed Era, like, McAfee's great, but, like, I just don't like the brand of Logan Paul. It's just, it's obviously directed towards another demographic outside of mine. And I just don't like how this guy is just like now just popping up everywhere. And it's like he's at a tasting for a wedding and he's just taking a bite of every single pie that he has and making money in the process. Like, if that's his brand and that's how he's successful, hey, America, you know what I mean? But it doesn't mean I have to like it. And I don't like it. They signed Willow Nightingale. I mean, congratulations to Willow Nightingale, regardless of how I think about wrestlers with that particular gimmick. I am excited and hopefully, we'll see maybe, I'm hoping, at least personally, I'll see a little bit of an evolution of her character to something where I actually like enjoy the character. the wrestler's fantastic. You know, is definitely solid in the ring, but you know, I've just never been a fan of that kind of particular particular gimmick. They had Halloween Havoc NXT. It was a thing. I didn't bother watching it. Neither should you. I do think it's kind of funny that there was a Steiner headlining a Halloween Havoc in 2022. I just think that's just pretty ironic and interesting. But so they had I didn't even think I didn't even finish tonight's Dynamite. I got so caught up in that tangent. So we got Bryan Danielson. He defeats Sammy Guevara. Another solid match. I mean, Sammy Guevara is a solid wrestler, and you know Danielson's Danielson. So it's nice seeing a little contrast of styles. Danielson obviously more technical of the two. Sammy Guevara is more high flying lucha and acrobatics and stuff like that. But it was still a solid match. And I'm glad that he won because I'm tired of seeing Danielson lose. So then they had Ray Paquette. She's backstage. She's talking with Ray Phoenix and Alex Abrahantes. They said that Pentagon will be double champion. Abrahantes said that Phoenix should become the next All-Atlantic champion. Christian comes out and says that his right hand of destruction is going after anybody who has a title, and he deserves a shot, and said that he had beaten Jungle Boy, who beat Ray Phoenix, so he deserves a shot more. Orange Cassidy comes out, and he's like, all right, next week, let's do this. So it looks like Orange Cassidy is going to be doing another triple threat match. And to be honest, the triple threat match that he had on Rampage, I thought was pretty solid. You know, triple threat matches are great, and Orange Cassidy is a good wrestler. I mean, if he's going to do this thing, well, like the All-Atlantic belt, those are belts that like I don't expect a build for all the time. It's just I feel like it's a showcase belt where a champion gets to fight a challenger, and the challenger goes and gives him everything that he's got. We know that they're an underdog, but every single challenger should bring some sort of unique challenge to the table for the champion. So the champion actually gets better and better. Like, those are the kind of titles that I expect that to happen. The main champion, the world champion, you don't do those kinds of storylines because he is the best. But when you have those mid-card titles, you could afford to, like, have a champion that's still learning and growing and getting better. And that's how you could showcase other challengers and other challengers, putting them through different tests and having better matches. And in the process, you as a viewer are thinking, man, this guy could actually be a champion. Look at him take the actual champion to the limit. So, like, if that's what Orange Cassidy's going to do, and he's going to use these open challenge triple threat matches to prove that he's like a fighting champion, if that's going to be the story, fine. You know, right now, this is the second time that he's done it. A third time, I think, is a trend. So we'll see. But you know, and then it could also be the story about how he lost the title because he ended up fighting in matches where he was always outnumbered. So who knows? But, you know, I'm glad that they put the belt on Orange Cassidy. I felt like it's a time in the company where you want to start putting belts on people that are popular. So, and Orange Cassidy is popular with the AEW audience, and he is a draw to the AEW audience. Say what you will if he's a draw with the mainstream audience, but he's one of their main guys. This is a time in the company where you kind of want to start rewarding your loyal guys, and Orange Cassidy has been the company guy. He's done whatever they've asked him to do. You know, with the TBS title, you know, I feel like the TBS title is someone who, like, you take a little bit more seriously. We don't necessarily have him fight in matches where he's necessarily trying to prove himself. But I do think that, you know, he's actually more of a proving ground for other wrestlers. So the stuff that's going on with Wardlow, I think Wardlow obviously should beat everybody, but he should start getting into more interesting matches. And I want to start becoming a better seller so that he could put over some of the challenges that he faces. Because right now they don't know how to book Wardlow. You want to know how I don't? You want to know how I know that? Because they're booking him with Samoa Joe in tag matches. So you have the TNT champion not even defending the TNT title. He said he was going to bring prestige to the belt and fight everybody, but he's not really. He's in a tag a situation with frickin' Samoa Joe, and they're calling themselves War Joe. I mean, like, I don't want to hear the fucking word War Joe ever again. I hate these shipping names. It's stupid. It's a stupid idea. So, like, that's why I didn't like the name, what was it, Miz Show? When the Miz was with Big Show, it's a stupid name. I don't get it. Jamie Hayter defeats Riho, which I thought was great because I was worried that now that Riho's back, that they were going to put her over. And I was like, they're really going to put her over Jamie Hayter? Jamie Hayter's been getting solid big pops every single week. And the fact that we keep on seeing her on TV more and more often is honestly, in my opinion, so they can have those big pops on TV for someone who's in that women's division. Because let's be honest, not a lot of those women are getting pops like that. Britt Baker, Jamie Hayter, Toni Storm, maybe like the bigger like the bigger names in that division, but nobody else. Not a Penelope Ford. You know what I mean? Like not even really a Nyla Rose to a certain extent. And Nyla Rose is having this ridiculous feud with Jade Cargill, and she's taking her belt and she's taking her rental car. Like I don't know what the hell's going on, but like they need to bring respect back to Jade Cargill's title reign, because her reign was her demolishing everybody. That was the story about she's an unstoppable force and she's destroying everybody. And I feel like they're just kind of at this point maybe just treading water until Statlander's healthy and comes back. I did see a clip of her at the end of a Rampage. No, it was at the end of the Dynamite where Orange Cassidy won the All-Atlantic belt, and she comes and brings him his backpack. So she's on her feet and she's not limping. I mean, she's definitely got that brace on, but you know, her big claim to fame is that she's a very powerful, athletic wrestler. So you want to make sure that those legs are working good, because if you're going to be doing a lot of heavy lifting spots, the last thing I want is for her to blow her knee out again right when she's about to win a championship. You know, the last thing AEW needs is a champion that's injured, and they've had quite a few. I mean, if Punk wasn't suspended, he would not be wrestling right now because he has a torn tricep. You know, we haven't seen Adam Cole since Forbidden Door. Like, there are a lot of guys who are hurt that we haven't seen. So, like, and that women's division needs a Chris Statlander. They need for the chapter to close on this Jade Cargill story so that they could move on and start moving other people up and giving other people opportunities. But right now, that women's division is a traffic jam. And there's a couple of cars blocking the way, and it's from people who are injured. They really can't do much else with it. So, I am just glad that Hayter won. And we'll see, you know, is Hayter going to challenge Toni Storm for the belt? Does she become a winner? Does she end up having a feud with Britt Baker? A lot of things we don't know, but she's like a Wardlow-esque character where she's like the second hand, you know, the right hand, she's a right-hand woman to Britt Baker. But, you know, a lot of times it costs her opportunities and costs her championships and costs her matches. And, you know, sometimes she's not really treated with the utmost respect by Britt. So that remind you of when Wardlow was first getting built up and they settled him with MJF. So it's like, you know, I'm kind of hoping that they pull the trigger on Jamie Hayter sooner rather than later. The card for Rampage, Claudio Castagnoli and Wheeler Yuta are going to fight 2.0, Matt Menard and Angelo Parker. So the feud between the Blackpool Combat Club and the Jericho Appreciation Society continues. Madison Rayne versus Tay Mello. Wardlow defends the TNT title against Matt Taven. That's another thing I'd like to add. Why are they still signing people for AEW? Unless there's a plan that I don't know, where do you see room for the Kingdom in AEW's roster? I mean, yeah, it's another tag team, but like, what TV time do they think they have to showcase this tag team division in a way that's serious? Because right now, I don't even bother with Rampage. You know what I mean? Like, I barely watch it. Rampage is a phoned-in show. There's nothing that ever really happens on it. In the beginning, they actually had worthwhile matches with worthwhile stipulations and crazy shit actually happened. But they don't do that much on Rampage anymore. And it's clear that either A, Tony needs more TV time, or B, he needs writers to share the load and start giving people attention, where one person writing for 3 different shows may not be able to give a roster that has over 100 people enough time and attention. It doesn't make any sense. The guy's a billionaire. How can he not see this evident problem? Unless he doesn't think it's a problem at all. Darby Allin and Jay Lethal are going to fight again. Looks like that's going to be what's happening next week on... Next week on Dynamite. We have the Daddy Ass Birthday Bash, so it's Billy Gunn's birthday. Orange Cassidy is going to defend the All-Atlantic title against Luchasaurus and Rey Fenix, so triple threat match. Renee Paquette is going to have a sit-down interview with Soraya and Dr. Britt Baker. And Chris Jericho is going to defend the ROH World Championship against any other former ROH champion. Last match of the night, Jon Moxley defeats Penta El Cero Miedo with Alex Abrahantes to retain the AEW championship. I mean, it was a great match. I love Mox and his style of wrestling. I mean, granted, when he's not like has thumbtacks and broken glass and stuff like that, I like guys who are brawlers and stuff, which is why I like the Blackpool Combat Club so much. And Penta, like, I love lucha wrestling, so the high flying antics of Penta is great. I thought it was an awesome match, and I thought the right guy won, obviously. They tried to build up the reasons why Penta was challenging, and is he a worthwhile challenger, and I don't want to hear it. I honestly don't. They did a poor job. He just challenged out of nowhere. I mean, we already know that Mox is a fighting champion, but, like, it doesn't make sense if he just fights. There's no real stakes in his matches. And then he gets jumped at the end by the Firm, and then MJF kind of is like, I may not help him out. Then he leaves. Then he comes out, and he starts trying to help out. Then the Firm jumps him, beats them all, and beats the shit out of both Moxley and MJF, and then they put MJF through a table to end the show. I just don't get it. I just don't get what they're doing with MJF. You know, like, I just feel like his money is him being a heel, and I feel like if you turn him babyface, it's like neutering a wild dog that you need to win prize fights, you know what I mean? It just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. So I'm curious as to where the MJF character is going to go. Like I said, all of this is all parts of a whole. We haven't seen the payoffs yet. So all I could do is guess and speculate and see what Tony's going to do and then react when it actually happens. But right now, it's just, you know, I don't know. But I will say that right now, I'm pretty much enjoying AEW and WWE. Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah, and Excalibur, yeah. So Jordan in the chat says, as Excalibur screams and hypes the matches for Rampage. That is true because he's hyping these matches like they're big-time matches, but it's like QT Marshall versus Hook for the 100th time, you know? Aaron Solo versus Danhausen. Like, Jordan, I think it's a super strong possibility that Regal turns on the Blackpool Combat Club and helps MJF. Literally, it is, I think that MJF is going to try and screw over Mox in every single conceivable way. Mox is going to kick out of all of it, and the one thing that's going to do Mox in is not going to be the Dynamite Diamond Ring. It's going to be, watch, it's going to get all the way up to the point where MJF is going to use the Dynamite Diamond Ring, but instead, Regal uses the brass knucks, knocks out Moxley, MJF gets the pin, and now you have these two villains together, and that's it. You can still keep the Blackpool Combat Club as a group. Maybe they break up, but yeah, I mean, I think Regal shouldn't talk very much. I think he should show up and put on his face and say a couple of things, or they make it where, yeah, you know, I think that's what they should do. They shouldn't have Regal speak too much. Have Regal be an instrument, have Regal be a face or a manager, have him be the guy that sometimes helps MJF out of a jam, and that should be it. But like I said before, the pull of MJF, aside from his wrestling ability, is his character. And if you don't have him talk, you take away one of the great assets of his character. The guy is a talker. So I would not use Regal as a mouthpiece just as a means to an end. And who knows, Regal just helps him out and maybe doesn't do anything anyways. Or maybe they pair him and it's just Regal coming out and saying a bunch of stuff. You know? Who knows? But it's possible. It's very possible. But yeah, I don't know. It's just parts of a whole. I'm still trying to figure out. But like I said, I'm enjoying both products right now. I'm enjoying AEW just as much as the WWE. I don't think either of the products are on like super hot fire right now, but they are giving me a reason to stop what I'm doing and tune in. They may not be able to hold my attention for the entire time, which is fine, I guess. I don't expect every show to be a complete hit from minute 1 to the final minute of the show, but I am watching Raw more than I've ever watched Raw. I am watching AEW the same. I am watching SmackDown more than I ever have. I've been watching Rampage a little bit less because, to be quite honest, it's not what must-watch television anymore. Unless someone tells me, like, yo, there was a really good match on Rampage, I may not take time out of my schedule to actually watch it. What do you call it? NXT, I don't even think that's even marketed for me. It's marketed for somebody else, but it's not for me. I'm hoping that they do better there, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure what they're doing there. I think it's still in its growing pains. I think it's in an identity crisis. I think it's a hodge. It's like a poo-poo platter of what Vince and Kevin Dunn made it to be, and what Triple H and Shawn Michaels want it to be. And it's a little bit of everything. So I'm not really sure, where that's going to go, but it definitely needs to go somewhere. New Japan, I think their crowds are going to start cheering. So I think their shows are going to be a lot more enjoyable to watch. Because let's be honest, like, wrestling during the COVID era with no crowds, like, that was really tough to watch. Like, only the hardcore were watching that shit. You know what I mean? So, like, it's been tough because New Japan has been wrestling like this for the last 3 years, while everyone else has kind of gone back to normal. So it's like, finally they're getting to a sense of normalcy. So I'm pretty freaking excited for that. I'm hoping that good shows come out. I actually think, holy shit, a gigantic bug just hopped up on my, oh, you gotta be freaking kidding me. Like, the war that I'm having against bugs once the freaking weather changed is absolutely ridiculous. How can I do this? That's right on the screen too. Oh, fuck me. I'm gonna do this live on the air. Jesus H. Christ. Ah, got you, bitch. Alright, crushed this candy ass. Anywho, the fuck was I saying? Oh, so yeah, so I think Eddie Kingston's supposed to have a match against Jay White soon, at the New York show for New Japan. So, like, New Japan has been, like, here's why I like New Japan. New Japan just has great matches, and the matches are so good that, like, unless, like, you're following the product and following characters, they're just, as a fan of professional wrestling, they're just super entertaining to freaking watch. I just enjoy them. I love Los Ingobernables de Japón. I love the United Empire, Chaos, Bullet Club, everything. And I know that they suffered a bit when they lost a lot of their guys who pretty much started All Elite Wrestling. More guys went to NXT. So both the creation of NXT and AEW kind of siphoned off a lot of, like, the Western talent from that roster. But, I just, like, I feel like they could get back to that point. I feel like guys like Will Ospreay, I think, could really carry that company. Okada's still there. Naito, when he's healthy, is great. Tanahashi's still a legend. So I'm hoping for a resurgence of New Japan. Really, I was hoping that they would have more relationship with AEW, but with all the turmoil that's going on right now, I'm not really sure where that relationship is heading. But I would love to see another Forbidden Door, possibly in Japan. So, but yeah, a lot of interesting stuff in the world of wrestling. Before we sign off, I have an announcement to make. So I've been telling you guys for a while now that there were going to be changes coming to the channel, and that if there were going to be any changes or anything concrete, the one place that you were going to find out that information was right here on one of the shows. And I'm a man of my word, and I'm here to deliver some news. So, as you know, I've been doing this for about 30. This is episode 37. So I've been doing this for 37, 38 weeks right now. And I absolutely love it. But I always had a desire to be able to talk about more than just wrestling. I mean, I love wrestling. It's my passion. I could talk about it all the time. And to be quite honest, the content is just, there's a new episode every week for forever. So I always have new content to talk about. So it just makes this a lot more enjoyable. But I still had a desire to talk about other things. So I am a big gamer on my spare time. And I know on this channel we've had a lot of, like, gaming. I had the Cologne Chronicles, which was episodes of just me playing games with my buddies and streaming and the hijinks that we get into. That I am looking to do on a more consistent basis with the guys at Boone Syndication. You've heard me mention them a bunch of times on the channel. I know the guys personally. It is a great gaming channel that's on YouTube. That's B as a boy, OON as a Nancy Syndication. Currently, right now, they're going through a playthrough of Dead Space. So if you are a gamer, and especially if you're a Dead Space fan, you should check it out. Check out the channel. There's a lot of great content. I'm actually on there in a bunch of episodes called The B Team. And this was when we were playing Warzone and the hijinks and the crap that we would get into. It's actually pretty funny stuff. But as of recently, there is another website that I have begun a partnership with. That's hitskipintro.com. That's run by Sean and Jonathan Ortiz. They're brothers. I've known them for quite a while, and that website is more focused on TV and film. So specifically streaming, the content that comes up on streaming services. And, you know, a lot of us have pretty much multiple streaming services. I know I have a lot myself. Peacock, I have VRV, I have Prime, I have Netflix, and a whole bunch of them. And we watch so much content, and we're such fans of that particular medium that, that website was formed. And we are starting a show covering streaming content and in the world of TV and film. Starting Sunday, December 4th. The show is going to be called Binging Streams and Broken Dreams. That is going to be hosted by myself and Jonathan and Sean as well. And we're going to be talking about streaming content. So if there are any TV junkies or movie junkies that are out there, they're always binging a show, they're always watching a movie and love discussing it and talking about it with other people, then I would tune in on December the 4th as well, so that you could take a look and watch our new show. I think it's going to be really enjoyable. So we're going to be having gaming content through the partnership with Boone Syndication. So anything gaming related, subscribe to their channel. You'll see myself and the rest of the guys from that crew playing your favorite games, streaming, having a great time. Also, check out hitskipintro.com, hitskipintro.com. For to read the latest reviews that we have on certain series, such as Hulu's The Patient, a review of Andor. I believe there is also a review on the latest Halloween movie. So there's already content on that website for you to check out. We will have that podcast coming December 4th. Also, on that same night, we will also be having another show here on the Smells Like Wrestling YouTube channel. The name is to be determined, but what we will be doing is we are going to be watching the original NXT Black and Gold episodes. We will be starting with the first takeover in NXT history and watching each weekly episode and reviewing it weekly until we get all the way up to the end of the NXT Black and Gold era, which occurred at oh my God, I forgot what it was called. Something NXT Stand and Deliver, which was I think a year or two ago. So each week, myself and Jonathan will be reviewing another episode of NXT that week. It's going to be fun looking at it in retrospective, seeing all the things that have occurred from then till now and how the product has changed and the talent and the quality of matches that have come through. So if you were a big NXT fan as much as I was, definitely tune in on Sunday, December the 4th for that show. That is going to be preceded by Binging Streams and Broken Dreams, which I will give you the links to the channel once it is created. So a lot of content that I will be associated with coming out within the coming months. The big change is going to happen in December. I will probably, I would think that you'll most likely see something more consistent with me when Destiny Lightfall comes out, or even when Warzone comes out, because I'll probably be playing that with my buddies again anyways. So if you want to see any of that content, just like I said, subscribe to Boone Syndication for the gaming content. Visit hitskipintro.com for the TV video content. And for all your wrestling content, you're going to keep it right here on the Smells Like Wrasslin Network. So I'm very excited. I'm happy to be working with the group of guys that I'm working with. They're people that I've known and respected for a while, and they're like myself. They're fans, and they're passionate about these things, and we love sharing that passion with others and talking about it and inviting other people into the conversation. So I'm very excited to be moving forward with all these great ventures with these guys, and I hope you enjoy all the content that's going to be coming out in the future. That is going to end tonight's show. I appreciate you all for showing up. Thank you to Process in the chat. Thank you to Royal. Thank you to Doom. Thank you to Jordan. I always like seeing you on the podcast, but we definitely have to get you on sometime, especially since now I figured out how to do multi-camera streams, so I could have more than one person on the show live. So we should definitely do that, or at least I'll get your audio in. But we will definitely have a day where we get the infamous Jordan on the show, and he will give you his hot takes on what's going on in wrestling. We'll hopefully make that a future segment if he agrees to it. I've been trying to weasel my way into getting him to do content for this channel for a while, and my quest continues. So I want to thank everyone for tuning in. Thank you everyone in the chat, Royal, Jordan, Doom, Process. Thank you all, and I will see you next week. Take care, guys.